Hello folks, L.A. Little here with TA Today, bringing you neoclassical technical analysis on a regular basis, giving you trading ideas, setups, and thoughts about where this market is and where it's going. Let's get into it. Hey folks, good morning. Welcome to the weekly review. Let's take a look at what's happening here last week. These markets just continued to grind to the top side. It was a week of continuation, shall we say, and you can't really gripe about that. This market has naturally came off the bottom, V-shaped recovery. Everybody knows, fastest as ever. But the question always is like, when is it going to retrace? How much farther can it go? Things of that nature. And I'll give you my thoughts on that as we go along here. When we're trying to figure out, where the market's going, you're always looking for clues. I mean, we know the direction is up, right? We had a V-shaped move. We're back up here. Question is like, how much farther can it extend? When's it going to roll over? Things of that nature. And you're always looking for clues. Well, one clue showed up here. This is the S&P 500 on Friday. And that's a shooting star, right, that printed. And what we're going to have to do is see if you get some follow through to the downside. For example, does it gap down? I mean, that would be a big deal if it did, or potentially a big deal, right? A topping signal. Anytime you get a move up like this and push back down, so, buyers come in, they gap it up, they push it to the highs, and then they close right down here at the lows. That is, an indication that the momentum's waning, right? And potentially is reversing. And so we have to see. We have to see if it does. But if you look elsewhere, here's your NASDAQ, NDX. It's just new highs, right? It doesn't care. As a matter of fact, if you go and look at ABCD structures, they're all confirmed. Every one of them are activated, right? Every one of them pointing higher. They're nested. When you get nested ABCD structures pointing higher, it's probably going to go higher. So yes, there's one signal that may mean something. We'll see come Monday. But the rest of the signals all continue to push higher. If you look at oil still looks like it's topping. Even though it came up, made a new high, looked like it was going to run to the moon. Where does it close? Back below that prior high. So oil, I don't know, and I don't expect that oil's just going to do this. But it's having a hard time continuing this momentum to the upside. There's going to have to be a resolution to make this thing come down. But again, it's struggling to continue up, I guess is what I'd say. You got the Fed, the dissension that's taking place, 3 dissenters this past week. And rates, right, this 4.5 I keep calling out, this to me is kind of critical. I mean, if you get over 4.5, I think it starts to affect the market. If you get over here and you stay over here, I think it starts to affect the market. Now, the way it will probably happen, even if it gets there, is you'll get a grind up to it, over it, right? Get a breakout, and then you'll get a retrace, retest, regen up here. And if that holds and continues, that's going to be an issue. Now, Warsh is coming in on the 15th. Says he's going to change the way the Fed does business. These 3 dissenters essentially shot a warning shot over the bow and said, hey, not so quick, it's probably not going to happen that way. If we look elsewhere, right, semiconductors, the CapEx raise on the AI, even though it was really mostly for inflation, the CapEx rise helps the semiconductors, they come back up. Conclusion here, to me, there's just nothing here that's telling us that this market's going to roll over, right? It just continues to show that it wants to move higher. We'll have to watch the S&P and see if it gives us more clues that the weakness is there. But right now, it's pretty hard to say anything other than positive. Here's the full chart. You can see this massive rise, right? Even if you get a retrace, you're just going to come back. Probably to start with, you're probably going to come back into this area here. If you really get some sort of a retrace, you'll finally come back and retest and regen off of these. But these are buys, right? So even if you get a hard push back down to here, that's probably a buy, especially if it came in fast and furious. The index 100, And the Nasdaq just don't even take a break. I mean, this thing still hasn't consolidated. That's extremely strong. Here's your SOX, made a new high. Looked like maybe something was happening, but no, take it right back to highs. Now this could be, end up being a failure here in a rollback over, because a lot of these are extremely extended. If you look at Intel, SanDisk, and I mean, go down the list. These things are up 100, 150% in 4 or 5 weeks. It's insane. Does it matter? Yeah. I mean, is it going to do something? I don't know. I mean, at some point it will, but is it right now, right? We can't say that it will. MAGS hasn't even made a new high, so we may still see these continue to push forward. And I looked at a wider measure of equities, and this is the VWO, which is both developed and underdeveloped markets, right? And this is right at the highs. It's tested 3 times now, hasn't been able to get over the highs. The volume on the highs a little bit higher still. If I draw it across, it's like there. So you're testing, you can't get over it. Now maybe this is going to consolidate for a while and then eventually get the breakout, but right now we don't have a signal from the broadest measure of new highs. And I want to close with this note, and that is that we do not have a situation where everything has been rotating higher, right? And new highs are being made everywhere. Now they may get that way, but right now it's not that way. XLF, important sector, way below its highs. If you look at it on a weekly, sitting down here at 51.5 or so. I guess that's 52 or so. So you're still quite a bit, 5% or so away from the highs. And that's true of every sector, not this much, but most sectors have not gotten over weekly highs. The only ones that have really are the SOX and the XLK. Everything else is lagging. Now, that may be good. It may be that we just simply rotate once XLK, once the SOX, right, the semis calm down. We may see this market rotate to those other names. And then that would give us the momentum to keep going. And that's what we'll have to watch and see if that happens, because those things are going to cool off at some point. They're not going to just keep doing this forever. But that rotation hasn't happened. Will it happen? That's the question. And that's where I'll leave it. Have a great one. I'll see you next time.